This is Squillish. You're live. Yay.
Oh, now we're
hey.
live. I'm all dancing
You're
and
alive.
waving, and now we're live after my dance was over.
Hey, good afternoon, morning, or evening, wherever you're at. Next Gen Millionaires. I'm Joe Burns, the Money Master. I'm coming to you this week with my favorite, most bestest buddy in the world.
Aw, that makes me feel so warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
It may just be the chai tea, but
that's good.
No, I'm just
kidding.
So
this week, for those who don't know, on my channel, this is Debbie. She is my partner in crime, my wife of 20 years.
Oh my
right?
gosh,
20 years. That's
so
a long
long.
time, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking, and here's the deal. I'm like, hey, come join me on my live stream today. So here she is. So we got everything set up, and we're going to chat about some really cool thing about who is actually making your decisions for you when it comes to your choices around money and what we're willing to do.
And right?
Well, we'll get into life.
Yeah,
but
we're going to get into all of that.
Hello, you're here for like money education, so we're going to educate you on money.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We're going to talk money, but I'm super passionate about this topic too. So I'm really grateful. I'm really excited to be here to have conversation. I run my own business in my own world. I'm a lot more magic and woo than Joe is, but we have a lot of crossover when it comes to the passion we have for the conversations and the things, the issues that come up for people in their lives. So I'm really excited about today's conversation. I'm going to try really hard not to steal his thunder. I tend to do that when we do when we do group teaching together. Yesterday, you stole mine. Good job. So I'm gonna follow your lead.
So I know. So I wanted to have her come on because the conversation is kind of like a peek into the life of Joe and Debbie for this topic this week about really who's making your decisions for you.
Yeah.
And the problem is a lot of times when we look at it, and we're going to break this down, but the answer is money. Money makes most of the decisions in our lives.
At least when we're not conscious of it.
When we're not conscious, right? And that's what I want to get into.
Yeah. When we're not paying attention, it can be the driving factor at the very base of all of the fears, frustrations, everything that really is calling the shots in our show.
It really is, like that subconscious thought around like money and what it's doing, because what we usually say is we're like, oh, it's something else. And let's hop into some examples of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot in the news right now, and
let's start with our favorite, not favorite.
I'm just saying this. I'm gonna say right now, right? Just buckle in because we're gonna talk about some tough subjects today,
and I'm gonna get a little passionate.
And here's the deal: like one way or another, I'm not gonna say like things are good or bad. I really want to focus and stay on the topic of how is that affecting our decision making when it comes to money.
I might say some things are good or bad.
Yeah. But
not all the things,
but that's not the conversation for here. If you want to have that conversation with me somewhere else, put them in the comments below and we'll chat about that, right?
Yeah.
But I really want to keep it to money of how, because the thing is, at the end of the day, the livelihoods we have, the things we do in society, a lot of it, if not all of it, is based upon really how much money are we going to get. Like a lot of people base that off, and then they're grumpy and angry later when it doesn't work out the way they want it to. And if you go back to previous weeks, a few weeks ago, I talked about asking you questions and being curious. I also talked about finding your passion, because underlying that's really why people are grumpy about it, right? Like they're not following their passions to begin with, and then like other stuff comes up.
I'm gonna say they feel like they can't follow their passions. I think there's and that goes back to, is money making your decisions for you, or who actually is making the decisions? Because even though we don't want the bottom line to impact us, even though I see this a lot of times with entrepreneurs where it's like, I'm launching this thing and I'm focused on the people and I care about the people, and I genuinely believe you are, and you do. If you happen to be one of these, I'm one of these. Okay, I just want you guys to know that just because he's the money master doesn't mean I have this figured out. Like I still have to.
That's why she's on here today.
I still have to come here and be like, okay, I got money shit going on, or money stuff going on. Sorry. And I got to get that figured out. But a lot of us don't feel like we can even pursue our passion. So back to the entrepreneurs, where it's all about the people. It's all about the people until the launch doesn't go well. And the numbers get reflected back to us. And the bottom line says we didn't make the amount of money that we thought we could, or that we really wanted, or thought we should, et cetera, et cetera. And suddenly we're feeling less passionate or less emboldened, or we feel like maybe we got to change. I've seen people completely change what they do in the world because of that number that came back to them. They're like, well, this just doesn't work, so now I'm going to pursue something that's less passionate for me, or isn't even any passion at all, but I'm doing it because it makes money, blah, blah, blah. So here we are. I feel like entrepreneurs feel like at some time they cannot make money at what they want to do.
Yeah, it's gotta be money like what they feel like, or even like, let's take me for an example here, right? So if you follow me, if you're just like getting to know me now, I was in the IT industry for 20 years. right? I did computers. Like it's what I grew up doing. I was really good at it. I built my first computer when I was like 16.
And of those 20, at what point do you think you knew that you wanted to do something? Because the words he used for me, to me, his wife, was I just feel like I want to do something that matters in the
Yeah,
world that
like
has impact. So
impact
at
was a
what
big thing of mine.
point
Like
did
I
you
continued it and
recognize
I'm like,
that?
how can I think from the beginning, right? I'm like, I want to make an impact, right? It was maybe
Mm,
not at the very beginning of my career, but a few years in, I'm like, I want to make an impact. I'm not feeling like I'm doing anything. So I started looking for other ways to make impact with my IT skills. Right. And I'm like, maybe I just need to change jobs, go work for like a nonprofit, or I started looking at things like
but
that.
I wanna call out, I'm gonna call you on the carpet here in front of everybody, that you didn't even vocalize that to me until about 10 years into our marriage.
Was it that long?
So even though you were like, I wanna make impact,
There
I
was
don't
a there
remember
was
hearing those words
there was a
until 10
drive
years in.
there was a drive inside, right? That's like, I want to do something different because it was good. I was having fun. I was learning, but it's like, I got to a point where it's like, it became mundane and boring. Right.
Yeah. So even 10 years in, I just wanna show you guys that even when we know there's something else we wanna be doing, when we have passion inside of us, it can be really hard to own it and to make the jump into it because something else is making the decision for us. You were trying to provide for a family, right?
Well, and I think if we look at it right from a lot of the places, right, our own story, I was trying to do the right thing, right, and continue on with this job I had,
Yeah.
and 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 really look at it, and there was a big kind of disconnect there for me because I was doing it like I loved IT, I loved computers, I loved the challenge it was, um, and this is like early 2000s, right? So there's tons of money being made, right? That
Right.
was part of the other
Right.
story. I'm like, there's so much money to be made here. I'm just gonna like maybe I got a different skill or work somewhere else. But this whole time I'm like
Yeah.
wanting to make this impact, right? And so moving through my own story, right? Later, eventually I got enough courage to be like, listen, I want to do coaching now, and I'm going to do coaching around money.
But I still think that there was a catalyst for that because you had moved to a different job and it was a really great paying job, my friends, especially in our market
Oh yeah,
here
like I had
where we
made more
live.
money the whole time, right?
Yeah,
And
every
go back and
time you
listen to any podcast
jumped,
episode I did in my channel somewhere. Like I was making a lot of money.
right, you were making the money. But what was interesting is that it took something just really awful in the workplace for you to finally come to me and be like, that's it, I'm out. Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
it
Like
violated your values so hard that was when you jumped ship and gave yourself the opportunity because you had been, I'm not going to call it playing in entrepreneurship because I don't want to I don't want to discredit that kind of balancing between corporate and entrepreneurship that
no, but I hadn't
sometimes
like
happen.
let's be honest, I wasn't putting the amount of time in that I
I
knew was
agree.
required
You
to get
weren't
it off
giving
the
it,
ground.
like you weren't giving even what, like the 50 or the 30% that you had at the end of the day that you could have given to entrepreneurship, you weren't even giving all of that.
Yeah.
And so like it happens, whether it's in corporate, whether it's in entrepreneurship or other aspects of our lives, oftentimes there is a catalyst that drives us to choose something different or to choose something more in alignment with us, but it's got to get bad, which brings me to kind of what we were talking about before we
Yeah, and
jumped
that
on the
was kind of the
call.
meat of all this, right? Like,
Yeah.
are we allowing money, right? That's the who I want to talk about. Are we allowing money to make our decisions based upon what we're willing to put up with, where we are willing to work? It's like
The
lots
fear
of
of having
W's
money or not having money.
of having money, not having it, having our needs met or not needs met.
We can talk benefits, we can talk
Like
like
all that stuff,
healthcare.
right? But money really at the end of the day ends up making that decision for most of us,
Yeah.
right? And we'll pick like, and I talked about it a few, like probably a month or so ago. So in the entertainment industry, right, the gaming industry,
We're huge gamers. I don't know if he like called that out to you.
no, I don't
I
call it
love
out.
World of Warcraft. I'm
I know.
gonna own that. I
So,
I love that you're like, no, don't call that out. No, we're calling that out today because
so
Blizzard.
well, what I want to call it was like look at these companies, right? So I look at different companies. I'm like, okay, so how are things going? So Activision Blizzard, right, has this huge lawsuit, right? And then you can go read about that in the news. I'm not going to explain what the lawsuit's about, but it has to do with like workplace garbage going on.
Bad
Like it's
chicken.
not a good environment to work in. Let's just put it that way.
Toxic to the extreme.
Like so much like
Harmful.
really bad stuff. Anyways,
Yeah.
so if you look at that, part of me has to start asking, like, if things aren't going to change there, and the management, for public sake,
No,
whatever.
I'm going want to go there. I know you're trying really hard not to go there. I'm going to go there. This is why he loves me. So we have a company who's done bad chicken. A lawsuit has been brought against him. We don't need to go into the details of the lawsuit, but a lawsuit from the federal government and the state government has been brought against them for bad chicken in their workplace. And the reason that this is coming up again is because last night in reading, we discovered that there's been a settlement between the federal government and Activision Blizzard, and it may mean the disintegration of the state's case, and it may mean that nothing else happens to them. And in the conversation, I was like, these employees, and we as employees in general, we as our own decision makers in this country, tend to discount the power we have in the places that we serve. Okay, so here we have this company that's super, super toxic. They may or may not actually be held accountable for the things that they have done. And instead of employees taking the power and saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to blacklist Blizzard. We're going to make sure that none of us ever work for you again. So even though the government isn't actually holding you accountable for breaking laws, we, the people, are going to hold you accountable for being asshats, and we're going to quit and we're going to blacklist you so that nobody within this industry will work for you again. There is power in that. There's a lot of power in that. And yet we don't see ourselves as being powerful. And this happens in other toxic work environments, the environment that you left. Everybody knew that there was problems in that environment, but nobody was willing to get up and walk out. Why?
Well, it's with all this, right? Going back to, and I was getting there.
I know. I'm sorry. Get passionate, team. Told you I might steal your thunder. I'm like, let's
hold
get
on,
to it.
Hold on. Because at the end of the day, we want to look at this from a money perspective, right?
Right. And that's where I'm getting to is like, why don't we stand up for ourselves? Why don't we say no to corporations, to community stuff, to agencies, to these entities, including family and friends? Why don't we say no when it's causing harm in our lives?
Yeah. And it goes back to, we allow money to make too many decisions in our lives, right?
Yes.
The paycheck is like, why don't we, back to the Blizzard thing, like, why don't they leave? Some of them might enjoy it. And that's, I mean, we're not
a
going to talk
different
about right or wrong
conversation.
or indifferent, but for those who like, that's too hard, it's time to leave that environment, right? It's time to go. It's time to take a stand, because here's the thing. When we follow our values, when we follow our passion, right, money will show up every time.
Mhm.
I know plenty of people in my life who quit jobs and then 2 days later they have new jobs, right, making more money, right? So if we follow the money and stay here because it's comfortable, even though we know that it might be toxic or it's not what we really want, but we're allowing money to make that decision, then we're failing ourselves.
We're actually giving our
Right.
power away.
And that's what I want to get at today. We can't let outside influences make our decisions for us. We have to make those on ours. And I understand, and everybody's gonna come at me and say, Joe, we have responsibilities and bills and blah, 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 blah. But yes, I understand that 100%.
I'm not saying quit and go hide under a rock.
What I'm saying is you have to find the power, the courage to make decisions for yourself and allow these external things, these external relationships to resolve themselves. One being money, two, employment and those relationships, family relationships, right? As we start looking at all these relationships, because what happens is if we stay, right? Some people will be like, Joe, you just don't understand my situation. I have to stay because blah, blah. Okay. If you have a really good reason that you've figured
You're
out for
the only
yourself,
one that can decide for yourself.
go, right?
Like,
This is all about
yeah.
you making decisions for yourself, not Joe telling you what to do.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. You have to be willing to stand up and make a decision for yourself before any outside influence can do that.
Mhm.
Right? We have to, like Debbie said a minute ago, we have to bring that power back to us.
Yep.
Because when we can stand in our full power and we can make our decisions based on what we want,
Mhm.
then we have the power. But if we continue to let money, society, other people tell us what we need to do, then we start giving that power away. Now, that doesn't come without consequences. Like, there are some consequences to our actions. And I mean, one that we're not going to get into, but that comes up and it's really hot right now, are vaccines.
Okay.
Right? I'm not going to say everybody has to get vaccinated. Would it help with this coronavirus and all the
No, I'm
craziness
with you on
happening?
that. Like,
It would, but I'm not going to say everybody has to. But some people might set that as a boundary of you have to be vaccinated to do X, Y, and Z.
for their employment, for
employment, for attendance of places, right? Because I've seen some sports arenas do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm not going to get into
For
the
certain
argument
travel.
of like whether like scientifically, whatever, right, wrong, and different, right? That's not where I want to go. What I want to go is the power that you have in deciding for yourself whether that's good or bad.
Right.
And not letting other things get in your way, like money, relationships, right?
Job.
Like all these external factors.
Like
You can go find employment other places. Like if this is one of the things, and as we'll dive into this just a little bit, if that's something you want, or you're like, I really like working for this company. I see changes. Like go back to Blizzard, right? Some internal employees could see changes happening. So like, I
I'm gonna
really
stick
like
it
this.
out.
I'm
I'm
gonna stick it
gonna
out. I
see.
see the change happening.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do it, right? But if you're someone that wants to get in a different situation, you have to take that and just know that on the other side, that these resources that you need to survive will show up for you.
And I'm not advocating that we all just jump ship immediately. I mean,
No.
nobody has to follow our path or what you did, where you just like walked into work one day and you're like, I'm done. We violated
No, because
my
there's lots of
values.
things like if nobody stood up, let's talk about, I mean, let's just go all the hot topics. Let's talk about racism in America.
Yeah.
If everybody's just like, I'm just going to leave because I can't stand it, then how can we start changing the systems that are broken? Right? There has to be change on the inside as well.
But if they refuse to change,
that's a different story.
What I'm advocating for is that we just don't keep waiting, because I know people who've stayed in toxic environments for years with no change and no glimmer of change, but they stay because they've been taught we got to stay in our same job for all these years. The only way to succeed is to be in corporate. The only way to make money is in corporate. If I leave, I'm going to ruin my family. Like these are really heavy, and they feel like very real beliefs. What I'm advocating for is that we watch that and we go, if it's not working and when we speak up they're not listening and nobody will make change within, then we need to be looking for our exit strategy, whether that is like searching out the new job and jumping ship or walking out when we need to walk out. All I'm saying is that the power is in us if we're not allowing, as you would say, the money or the money story to make the decision. That can't
drive our decision. We have to step up and be leaders no matter what the outcome is.
Yes.
That's really what it is. And if you're watching this and you're like, that's not me, then that's cool. That's not you. But who I am speaking to are the people who want to step and be leaders in their space.
Yes.
Right?
In their lives and in their fields.
Yeah. Not just like in your job. Like there are plenty of leaders and you'd be like, well, I'm not a leader. Well, you can be even as like an entry-level employee. Like you really can. But allowing yourself to lead, right? And make these decisions for yourself, not based on these outside influences.
Like choosing it.
Yeah.
Leadership is a choice.
And again, I'm going to pull it back to money all the time, because we make so many decisions based on money, because we have a mortgage to pay. We got families to feed. We have cars that need repairs and car payments. And we want to do fun stuff, right? There's all these things, and I totally understand it.
And we've been sold a very powerful dream that the best, or sometimes the only way to achieve that is by sticking it out in miserable, toxic circumstances or in environments for which we're not suited or we don't align. And so what we're here today, like even coming back to the vaccines, like if an employment wants it and you don't, it's time to find a new job. Like give yourself the power to go to a company that either holds the same values or similar values as you. Like that's all I'm advocating for, whether you love it or whether you don't, whether you're pro or whether you're against. Like find a different place. Like give yourself permission to find an environment in which you can thrive.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So whether it's Blizzard, like you're right, there could be changes happening within. I'm
could be like, I don't know,
eyes.
because I mean, we just see what's on the external, right?
That's right. We see what's on the external.
That goes into like the stories and what we're seeing and all that stuff.
Do have the power.
They do.
Like we have the power if we just got over this whole like, well, they're holding my money or they're holding my benefits or they're holding my like health care. And if I don't acquiesce or if I don't keep silent or if I don't stay, then there goes my whole life. And I'm saying there's something beyond that. And we've got to choose that and allow ourselves the opportunity to even play in the possibilities versus just assuming that we cannot make a change because money is telling us we got to stay here because this is where I'm making the money.
And every time you make decisions based on money, you're going to be miserable. Guaranteed. Like there's no easy way to say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
own it.
Whatever responsibilities you have, but as you're watching this, I hope you get this. Like you got to take leadership and ownership in what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And just stand up and take that back for yourself, and not make decisions based upon these external factors. Make them based on you, and not in a selfish way of being like, I don't care about my family or all these people, blah blah blah. Like that's not what I'm saying. Like you obviously got to take your family into consideration and your responsibilities that you've already agreed to. But don't let them make all the decisions. Be like, I got to be in this stupid job or I got to be in this stupid situation because I'm going to be the better person and just like figure it out for my family. Like
I'm just gonna put my head down and just like
Yeah, that
stay
doesn't work.
silent and keep through.
We're
Oh
miserable.
my gosh, you're
And I don't know about you,
miserable.
like even if I stayed in the corporate world, right? I thought about that for a long time. Right back to the story at the beginning. I thought about that for a long time. I'm like, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to be for someone I want to work with.
Hmm.
Right? If I got to work for another, because what like when I started making the transition into entrepreneurship, I was like 35. So I'm like, I got at least another 30, if not 40 years of work.
Yeah.
I got to be happy because I'm not just going to put my head down and just go to work. Like that's miserable. You spend so much time interacting with the things you do.
And if you don't think anyone else notices, you're lying to yourself.
Oh yeah, they
He was
notice.
coming home miserable all the time. So when he came to me and was like, I need to quit, I was like, good, we'll figure it out. Because I can't with you being miserable anymore.
And we figured it out, right?
So we
and it hasn't
do.
been without bumps and bruises, but whatever path you want to go on, right? Again, I'm just advocating, don't make it about money.
Right.
And if you are making it about money, we need to talk. Like I'm
Mhm.
serious. Because it's holding you back from what you really can accomplish. Money should be a byproduct of our passion, what we're doing. But when it becomes the gatekeeper for our dreams and our passions and our joy, it's not good. And it can change, I promise you, but you got to look at it a little differently. Okay. So hopefully today we're able to like stir the pot a little bit, like disrupt just a little bit. There's lots of like some hot topics we talked about, some different things, some different perspectives. And that's really what I want to get at, right? I want to thank Deb for being here and just kind
Thanks
of
for
bringing her
having me.
passion. But just like think about that, right? And really dig deep and be like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And for who am I doing it for?
Mhm.
Right? Because at the end of the day, if we're not doing it for us, then we start to get grumpy and angry. Those people we think, those people we love, we think we're helping them, we're actually harming them. And it creates a very not good environment. I want to say toxic because it doesn't always go that bad, but it creates not a good environment because you're not happy. So how can your kids and your wife be happy or your husband? How can your families be happy?
Why are we required to be unhappy in order to take care of ourselves and our loved ones?
And that's a whole different life stream.
Like, yeah, that's a whole different live stream. But think about it. I mean, at the end of the day, though, the question today is who's
really
actually
making
making
the
the
decisions?
decision?
And I'm going to say money couldn't be that who, because I see
Yeah.
money as a person, right? It's the real relationship.
Is money actually making the decision for you? If it wasn't about money or the benefits or the resources connected, what would you be doing?
Yeah.
What would you change?
Play with that for just a moment.
Yeah.
Live in that dream.
Ooh, I like
right?
that.
And if that's the case, like if money really ends up being that thing, you're like, I don't know, Joe, because of money, blah, 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 blah. We really need to talk because it can change. It doesn't have to be that way.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Can I highlight one? I just want to highlight again what you said. Money is the byproduct of passion. And I'm going to add leadership because you talked about that today. Money is the byproduct of passion and leadership, not the gatekeeper to our dreams and desires.
Yeah.
So powerful.
live with that. Ponder it. Think about it. As always, drop your comments below. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. I do these every week. Not always with Debbie. This is like the first time I think since I started doing the channel that I've had you on. So thanks for showing up today. Thanks for coming bring your passion, your fiery pink-haired unicorn glitter.
Magic and glitter. I love it. Yes, always, always.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. Until next week, I do these live streams every week. So you pop in and subscribe so you get notifications when I do it. Other than that, we'll see you next week. Bye.